a tiara, a banquet, and a silence that said more than words ever could. When Princess Catherine arrived wearing the lover's knot tiara, once worn by Princess Diana and inherited from Queen Elizabeth, the room shimmered with beauty. And tension. But it wasn't just the diamonds that drew gasps. It was Queen Camilla's reaction, icy, unreadable, and impossible to ignore. Why did this single piece of royal jewelry stir up so much emotion? What message did Catherine send, intentionally or not, by wearing it? And is this tiara the crown jewel of a quiet royal rivalry? Let's uncover the truth beneath the sparkle, the confession that shocked the nation. Princess Anne has long been the royal family's most reserved member, stoic, private, and never one to invite attention. But when she recently broke her silence in a rare and heartfelt moment, she revealed something that would shake the very foundations of how the public viewed her parents' marriage. The question that lingered for years, why didn't Prince Philip spend his final years living with Queen Elizabeth, finally got an answer. And it wasn't the one anyone expected. The public had always assumed it was about health, logistics, or quiet retirement. But Anne's words painted a far deeper, more human picture. "My father wasn't running away from my mother," she explained gently. "He was stepping into a life of his own choosing for the first time." It wasn't about distance from the Queen. It was about closeness to himself. A quiet act of freedom after decades of unwavering duty. For over 70 years, Prince Philip stood 2 steps behind the throne. He saluted, he bowed, he smiled when expected. But behind the crown, behind the carefully curated royal facade, was a man who had never stopped sacrificing. Anne's confession revealed that in the final chapter of his life, Philip sought something he had long denied himself: peace on his own terms. This one revelation has changed the way the world looks at one of history's most iconic marriages. It wasn't about disconnection. It was about dignity. And the more Anne spoke, the more it became clear. This wasn't just a decision about where to live. It was a powerful message about identity, aging, and the right to reclaim one's life, even for a royal. Anne's shocking words have led many to reflect on what truly held her parents' relationship together. Was it love? Was it tradition? Or something more complex, like duty? To truly understand Prince Philip's decision to step away from palace life, we have to peel back the curtain on their relationship. Because for all the smiles and unity they showed in public, the reality behind palace walls may have been far more intricate. A royal marriage, duty or desire? For decades, Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip were the living image of unity. From balcony waves to royal weddings, they appeared locked in timeless harmony. But as Princess Anne revealed, that image didn't always match the day-to-day reality. Yes, they loved each other deeply, but their marriage was defined just as much by what they gave up as what they shared. They respected each other enormously, Anne said. But respect and balance are not the same thing. When Elizabeth became queen, Philip had to set aside not just his naval career, but his identity as a man who once led. Suddenly, the former commander was following orders, not from a government, but from protocol, palace expectations, and the invisible weight of tradition. Anne saw firsthand the silent toll that role reversal took on her father. He didn't complain, he didn't rebel, but in the silence, something shifted. Philip began to dim, not in spirit, but in presence. He didn't belong to himself anymore, Anne said. He belonged to the crown. And while the queen wore her role with grace, Philip wore his with restraint. Their marriage was real, but it was royal first. That meant compromise. That meant appearances. And most of all, it meant that love had to fit within a structure that didn't always make room for emotion. Through Anne's lens, we begin to see the private price of their public perfection. Behind every staged photograph was a man adjusting to a world that no longer let him lead. Understanding their marriage helps us understand the quiet sacrifices Philip made. But to truly grasp why he chose solitude later in life, we need to look at one of the few people who knew him without filters: his daughter. Anne wasn't just close to her father, she was his confidant. And in that unique bond, we discover the hidden truths behind Philip's internal battles and the emotional toll of being the queen's shadow. The princess and the consort, a father-daughter bond. Of all his children, it was Princess Anne who shared Prince Philip's temperament. Tough, direct, loyal. They didn't express emotion in flowery speeches, but in glances, quiet nods, and shared silences. Their bond wasn't just father and daughter, it was soul-level understanding, forged in the fires of duty, discipline, and restraint. Anne recalls that her father spoke to her in ways he didn't with anyone else. He didn't speak about regret. He spoke about reflection, she shared. Philip rarely spoke about himself, but when he did, it was with Anne. It's strange to serve your whole life and still feel unseen, he once told her. That single sentence captured decades of silent struggle. Philip had been raised to lead, yet spent much of his life following. That paradox ate at him. While the world admired his stoicism, Anne saw the wear and tear beneath it. He didn't crave attention, but he craved purpose. And when he felt that purpose slipping away, it became clear to Anne. Her father needed to find peace, not just in retirement, but in identity. She noticed the shift years before he moved to Wood Farm. He grew quieter, more contemplative. He longed for nature, privacy, and routine. He didn't want to vanish, Anne said. He wanted to breathe. And in stepping away from Buckingham Palace, that's exactly what he did. Not as an escape, but as a return to himself. Philip's bond with Anne gave us rare insight into his emotional world. But to truly understand his journey, we need to go back further. Long before royal titles, before public pressure, there was a young naval officer and a future queen. Their love story captured the world. But the foundation it was built on would be tested again and again as they stepped into the spotlight together, forever bound by the crown. Camilla's rocky road to the crown. Camilla's journey to queen consort wasn't paved with public adoration. It was a path lined with scandal, whispers, and relentless headlines. Long before she wore a crown, she was labeled the other woman, a figure many saw as the wedge in Charles and Diana's ill-fated marriage. Even after Diana's passing, the public took years to warm up to Camilla. She wasn't accepted, one royal commentator said, not by the people, not by the press, and not always by the palace. Every public appearance came with scrutiny, every gesture was measured, and every smile compared. Inside the royal family, Camilla worked to prove herself. She was dutiful, present, and increasingly active in charitable causes. Over time, she began to earn respect, not because she demanded it, but because she quietly stayed the course. Still, the shadow of Diana lingered, and many believed the crown would never truly belong to her. And now, with Catherine wearing Diana's tiara, the very symbol of her legacy, it reopened an old wound. Camilla never wanted to compete with Diana's memory, a source close to the palace said, but the comparisons never stopped. And seeing that tiara on Catherine, it was a reminder that maybe they never will. But beyond emotions and legacy lies something even more powerful: symbolism. In the royal world, jewelry speaks louder than words. And when that tiara landed on Catherine's head, the message it sent was crystal clear. The crown, the tiara, the message. In the world of royalty, nothing is ever worn by accident. Tiaras aren't just fashion statements, they're visual power plays. And when Catherine wore the lover's knot, she didn't just honor the past, she made a claim to the future. As queen consort, Camilla may have expected to inherit Queen Elizabeth's most iconic jewels, including the lover's knot. That's the unspoken tradition. The crown passes down, and with it, the sparkle. But when the tiara appeared on Catherine instead, insiders say Camilla was caught off guard. It was like being passed over, visibly, one palace aide revealed. To many royal watchers, it looked like Queen Elizabeth had chosen her successor, not just in duty, but in symbolism. Catherine had long been the quiet force in the background, no drama, no scandal, just consistent, graceful loyalty. And with the tiara, she became more than the Princess of Wales. She became the crown's next face. This wasn't a snub, one expert clarified. It was a transition. A visual reminder that while Camilla holds the title now, Catherine represents the monarchy's future. And in that future, every sparkle tells a story. And speaking of the future, let's talk about the woman everyone sees stepping into that next era of royalty. She didn't rise through bold moves or controversy. She rose through something far more powerful: trust. Catherine's ascent, the future queen. Catherine's rise within the royal family has been slow, steady, and nearly flawless. She didn't rush it. She didn't chase headlines. She simply did the work, day after day, year after year. And it paid off. Today, she's not just the Princess of Wales. She's the future of the monarchy. Queen Elizabeth saw that early on. She had the poise, the discipline, the heart, a royal biographer once said. Everything the Queen valued in herself, she saw reflected in Catherine. Their bond was never showy, but it was strong. They shared quiet moments, private advice, and a mutual understanding of duty above all. The decision to gift the lover's knot tiara to Catherine wasn't just sentimental, it was strategic. It was the Queen saying, "This is who I trust to carry us forward." And when Catherine wore it, she didn't wear it with arrogance. She wore it with grace. A quiet confidence that spoke volumes. Today, Catherine's public image is nearly untouchable. Her style choices make headlines. Her presence draws crowds. And more than anything, she's earned the affection of a nation still healing from royal rifts. As one headline put it, Catherine doesn't just look like a queen, she leads like one. But no matter how far Catherine rises, there's one memory she can never escape, and one comparison she'll never shake. Because every time the lover's knot shines under the lights, one name echoes louder than the rest. Diana's ghost in every diamond. No matter how beautifully Catherine wears it, the lover's knot tiara will always whisper one name: Diana. Princess Diana made the tiara iconic, and now every time it reappears, it revives her legacy in sparkling silence. Diana wore the lover's knot with unmatched grace. It framed her short hair during diplomatic dinners and glimmered during turbulent years. It became part of her visual identity, the crown of the people's princess. So when Catherine dons it now, comparisons feel inevitable. And for Camilla, those echoes may be more piercing than anyone knows. For decades, Camilla worked to step out of Diana's shadow. She didn't ask to be seen as her replacement, only as her own person. But each time Catherine wears the tiara Diana made famous, the image is clear. The people still cherish Diana, and they see her reflected in Catherine. It's like seeing Diana again, but without the tragedy, one royal watcher said. That comment, though meant as praise, highlights the complex weight this tiara now carries. It's not just history, it's memory. And memory is powerful, especially in a family still trying to rewrite its story. And while tiaras might seem like accessories to outsiders, those within the royal world know better. Throughout history, these jeweled headpieces have sparked jealousy, division, and sometimes full-blown scandal. Jewelry and jealousy, a royal tradition. In the royal family, jewels don't just sparkle, they speak. And throughout history, they've whispered secrets of rivalry, power, and status. From Elizabeth I to Princess Margaret, battles over tiaras have left bruises beneath the diamonds. Queen Mary's own inheritance caused tension. Princess Margaret once fought over a tiara she believed was promised to her, only to find it gifted elsewhere. These aren't just accessories. They're territorial lines, worn for the world to see. And the lover's knot. Tiara? It's become the latest symbol in a long line of royal power plays. It's easy to assume Catherine and Camilla are above such things, but palace insiders say otherwise. No one says it out loud, said one royal source, but everyone knows what a tiara means. And this one, gifted to Catherine, felt less like an ornament and more like a coronation. Even today, jewels still carry rank. Who wears what and when tells you everything about who's in favor and who's being quietly sidelined. With each public outing, Catherine's sparkle seems to shine a bit brighter, while Camilla's remains traditional, even muted. The contrast hasn't gone unnoticed. So what does Camilla wear? She's no stranger to diamonds herself, but the tiara she favors tells a very different story. One of tradition, lineage, and subtle distance from controversy. The Greville tiara, Camilla's quiet crown. While Catherine wears the lover's knot with youthful glow and legacy on her side, Camilla leans into another royal heirloom, the Greville tiara. It's grand, it's regal, but it tells a quieter story. One not of headlines, but of history. The Greville tiara once belonged to Dame Margaret Greville, a wealthy socialite who passed it down to the Queen Mother. Camilla now wears it regularly, and by doing so, ties herself to the late Queen Elizabeth's maternal line. It's not flashy, it doesn't evoke Diana. It reflects continuity, not reinvention. Some say it suits her. Camilla's tiara choice is safe, said one royal historian. It's traditional, stately, but it won't cause a stir. And maybe that's the point. Camilla knows her public image has been hard-won. She's not here to compete with ghosts. She's here to reinforce the monarchy's steady hand. In many ways, this contrast between Catherine and Camilla is the new royal narrative. Two women, two tiaras, one evoking the beloved past and the exciting future, the other representing the loyal present and the complicated journey it took to get here. But if you think the tension stops at tiara choices, think again. Behind the palace walls, where the cameras can't go, whispers grow louder. Because in royal circles, silence often speaks volumes. Behind palace walls, the whisper network. The public sees polished appearances, smiles, tiaras, tradition. But behind the palace walls, a very different mood may be brewing. After Catherine wore the lover's knot tiara at the state banquet, insiders described a chill in the room. Not in the temperature, but in the air between two powerful women. There was no official statement, no raised voices, no scandalous outbursts. But staff reportedly noticed tight smiles, icy stares, and an unusually stiff post-dinner gathering. It wasn't what was said, one aide noted. It was what wasn't. For those familiar with palace dynamics, the signs were clear. Tension. These events triggered whispers of a deeper shift happening quietly at court. Catherine's growing influence, her favor with the late queen, and her immense public appeal, these are forces that can't be ignored, especially when they seem to overshadow the current queen consort. And yet, no one will admit it publicly. The royal motto, after all, is never complain, never explain. But within palace corridors, where hierarchy rules every room, the lover's knot. Tiara didn't just light up a banquet. It lit the fuse of a power conversation that may just be getting started. While the whispers grow louder inside the palace, outside, public eyes are watching even more closely. Because when it comes to royalty, perception can be more powerful than protocol. Public perception versus royal protocol. Camilla may be the queen, but Catherine is the favorite. It's not a contest, yet it feels like one. Every outfit Catherine wears trends globally. Every smile becomes a headline. And every tiara she places on her head brings comparisons that Camilla can never fully escape. Royal protocol dictates that Camilla outranks Catherine. But public perception? That's a different hierarchy entirely. Polls consistently show that Catherine is seen as the future of the monarchy. Elegant, composed, and relatable. She checks every box the public wants in a queen. Camilla, despite her hard-earned position, struggles to generate the same enthusiasm. The contrast is growing more visible. At public events, the cameras naturally gravitate toward Catherine. She doesn't demand the spotlight, it follows her. She has that Diana effect, one royal photographer remarked. When she walks into a room, it's electric. And that, perhaps, is the quiet conflict. Not a feud of words, but a competition of presence. One woman has the title, the other has the future. And every public appearance that only makes that divide more apparent. But this story isn't just about individuals. It's about the institution. And nothing defines the crown's direction more than the symbolism of succession, expressed not just in words, but in what's worn. The symbolism of succession. Every time Catherine wears the lover's knot tiara, it's more than fashion. It's messaging. It says the legacy continues. It says the future is already here. And it whispers, this is the monarchy's next chapter, written in pearls and diamonds. Royal tiaras have always signaled more than glamour. They mark status, favor, and destiny. Queen Elizabeth knew this. That's why her decision to pass this particular tiara to Catherine mattered. It was a final act of guidance, choosing not just who inherits the jewels, but who inherits the crown spirit. Catherine's grace under pressure, her devotion to family, and her impeccable balance of duty and warmth mirror the best of both Elizabeth and Diana. That's not coincidence, it's careful preparation. And the tiara? It's the seal of approval. Meanwhile, Camilla's jewelry choices reflect tradition, but Catherine's choices reflect transformation. And the royal family knows the monarchy cannot survive without evolution. With each tiara appearance, Catherine isn't just honoring the past, she's becoming the bridge between legacy and leadership. So, after all this, the question remains, was Camilla truly enraged, or is the truth more complicated? Because in the royal world, even the smallest sparkle can shift power, and we may only be seeing the beginning. Is this just the beginning? The tiara moment may have passed, but its impact is still unfolding. Was Camilla truly angry? That's still unclear. But what we do know is this: Catherine's presence is rising. Her symbolism is growing, and her quiet power is no longer hiding behind titles. It's stepping into its own light. King Charles's reign is still young, but already we're seeing hints of the monarchy reshaping itself. One where tradition coexists with relatability, where the future queen is chosen not just by blood, but by bond, and where jewelry isn't just decoration, it's declaration. As for Camilla, her journey remains complex. She's walked a hard road, endured immense public judgment, and emerged with a crown. But history is not always kind to those who stand between a beloved past and an adored future. And Catherine, she's playing the long game, steady, silent, and strategic. Each appearance, each choice, each tiara, it all builds toward one inevitable moment. A coronation not just of title, but of public will. In the world of royalty, nothing is ever just what it seems. A wave isn't just a greeting, it's a performance. A smile isn't always joy, it can be diplomacy. And a tiara? It's rarely just decoration. It's a symbol, a statement, a crown in waiting. When Catherine wore the lover's knot tiara, the moment wasn't just elegant, it was electric. The same piece that once adorned Princess Diana's head now shimmered on her daughter-in-law's crown. It was both a tribute to the past and a torch passed toward the future. But for Queen Camilla, standing just steps away, it may have represented something far more complicated. Everything she wasn't allowed to be. Camilla has fought a long, difficult battle for public acceptance. From scandal to scrutiny, she's walked through fire to reach the title of Queen Consort. But public titles don't always come with public favor. And while Camilla holds the crown by law, Catherine seems to hold it by heart. Every photograph, every headline, every crowd's cheer, the people have made their choice clear. And now, so has the tiara. The decision by Queen Elizabeth II to reserve the lover's knot for Catherine was no accident. Insiders say it was deliberate, deeply personal, a final nod of trust to the woman she believed could carry the monarchy into a new era. Not just because of who Catherine married, but because of how she carried herself. Steady, silent, strategic, every inch a future queen. Camilla, meanwhile, has leaned into tradition. Her Greville tiara, elegant and reserved, reflects a different kind of royalty, one built on restoration rather than reinvention. She upholds the institution, but Catherine is the institution's future, and the contrast is growing sharper with every royal engagement. So, where does this leave the monarchy? Are we witnessing a subtle shift in power, a gentle passing of the torch from the queen consort to the queen-in-waiting? Is this the beginning of a quiet rivalry, masked by public smiles and polished etiquette? Or is it simply the natural evolution of a royal dynasty preparing for the future? One thing is certain. The tiara was never just about diamonds. It was about direction. And as Catherine continues to step forward with poise, each sparkle of the lover's knot reminds us that legacy isn't only inherited, it's earned. The question now is, will Queen Camilla embrace this changing tide? Or will history remember this as the moment when two queens silently collided under the weight of one crown? The story isn't finished. In fact, the sparkle has only just begun.